Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for NWA Powerrr Episode 9, and I'm just going to get right into the review. This was pretty much the season finale, which makes sense because they have a pay-per-view coming up. They're not going to have an episode up this week, which is tomorrow, which makes sense because there's really nothing left. The only thing I could really see them doing is, like, airing the matches that we haven't seen, and, like, you know, making like a compilation of it. But I don't think they're gonna end an episode. I think they're just gonna wait until December 17th that we'll see something new from NWA. And I think it makes sense to do the season finale, you know, before a big pay-per-view, so I'm alright with it. And I think they've basically done everything that you could do to really build this show, so I'd rather them not blow out the wad. So this episode was called One More Time, which obviously is a fitting title with the main event of the show. And this was kind of like the same thing as the previous episode, where it was Joe Galli kind of in like a studio, you know, going through the NWA Into the Fire card and such, but they did have some matches on it this time. But it was hosted by Joe Galli, and then when they would show a match, the commentary team for it was Jim Cornette and Joe Galli. Obviously, everyone knows how I feel about the Jim Cornette situation. I've made that known. It shows reactions to Episode 8. It shows a video package, basically kind of running through the build-up of NWA Into the Fire. It shows the intro, and it was a little bit different this week. And yeah, it just basically starts off with, like, Joe Galli kind of going through the code and such, and going through the NWA Into the Fire pay-per-view, announcing things. It kicked off with a match. It was Colt Cabana versus Ricky Stokes, but we never actually got that match. What ends up happening is Aaron Stevens and Question Mark come out. And Aaron Stevens thinks that this is... And he actually comes out and he actually covers his ears so he can't hear the crowd, which was great. And when the crowd's booing him, he says, I can't hear you, pretty much. It was actually pretty awesome. And Aaron Stevens says that he doesn't think it's fair that Ricky Stokes is just basically getting handed a title match when he's like... you know, one of the highest paid and most well-received actors in Hollywood. So, Colt Cabana goes over to him and says originally he was just going to have this exhibition with Ricky Stokes, who's a great professional wrestler, and you're just an actor. But he makes a deal pretty much with Aaron Stevens and says that if he beats Ricky Stokes, he'll give him a title match. And he has to do it pretty much without question mark. And Aaron Stevens agrees to it and says that he's going to send question mark to the back because he's unneeded. And the crowd booed when question mark had to be sent to the back. And they all continue in that thing where question mark, where Aaron Stevens will raise his hands up and they'll boo him, and then question mark will raise his hand up and they'll cheer him. So I like that they're continuing that. I kind of like that they're making this duo like a tag team pretty much. I think it's great. I think they should put the tag titles on them. I think that would be awesome. So we had the match instead between Aaron Stevens and Ricky Stokes. And Aaron Stevens dominates him in the beginning. He destroys him. He was wearing a scarf around his neck. And he takes the scarf and just throws... Ricky Stokes like halfway across the ring, but then Ricky Stokes mounts a comeback. He gets a slim blade and a spear on him. One funny thing is Aaron Stevens' tights matched like his skin, so they blended it, so it was like camouflage, so it actually looked like he was wrestling out there naked, which was funny, and I like that the commentators called it out. But he tries to bounce off the ropes and land on his feet. But Aaron Stevens hurts his knee, so everybody's concerned. Colt Cabana was ringside and stuff too, and he comes over to kind of check to see what's going on. Referee sends over Dave Marquez to like make some type of announcement. And Question Mark comes out because he's pissed. But while the referee and everyone's kind of focusing on doing this, Question Mark attacks Ricky Starks, and he hits the Mongrovian spike on him. And Aaron Stevens takes advantage and covers him, and we find out that he faked the injury, and he used it to win the match. I actually love this. I thought the finish was really good. I thought it was very creative, and it was an awesome heel way for Aaron Stevens to get a NWA National Championship match. I thought it was very smart. The match was 3 stars. It was good stuff. And then it shows an ad for NWA Into the Fire, which was quite good. It kind of just, goes through it and goes through everyone who's going to be on the card. Then we have an exclusive interview with James Storm. One thing we find out from this before this is not only is the NWA World Championship match going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match at Into the Fire, but for each fall, James Storm and Nick Aldis can each pick their own referees, and then if it goes to a 3rd fall, they'll do a coin flip, and whoever wins the coin flip will get to pick the referee for the 3rd fall, which I think is interesting. It's something new, so I'm going to give that a chance. So James Storm does an exclusive interview saying that there's a big conspiracy theory against him, saying that NWA has consistently been against him because he's been the best superstar in the promotion, but he's just been consistently screwed over. He talks about how at an earlier event at NWA, he was screwed by Billy Corgan out of the NWA World Championship, and then he was screwed over to have to win a number 1 contenders match to become the national champion. He was screwed over because they have had unaired segments of his promos and stuff. And he says that at NWA Into the Fire, it's all going to be live. No one can edit me out. And he also says that he was also screwed over out of the NWA National Championship, and he should have immediately just been number 1 contender for the NWA World Champion since he was the national champion. He also says that he wasn't even booked on a match on the first episode. He had to go out there and stop somebody from running their mouth, but he didn't get rewarded for it. And he says that there was an NWA World Championship number 1 contenders match. Apparently it was him versus Ken Anderson versus Eli Drake, and he won, but they didn't air that match either. But he says he's going to use all of this anger and beat Nick Aldis. And he says that the referee he's picking is Brian Hebner, since he's been around these situations enough. And he says that if the referee that Nick Aldis picks screws him over, he says, sorry about your damn luck. This was quite an awesome interview. I really enjoyed it. Then it shows a 1979 promo tape from George South, where basically we see Danny Deal come in and promote his, high spots thing again. It was pretty cringy. Then we had a video package for Question Mark. This was awesome. It's this lady that is questioning what Question Mark has in store since he's from Mongrovian, and he says that the windows are so short that you blink and you miss them. And it's basically a running thin. He's all powerful, but no one knows what makes Question Mark tick. And we see that he goes to like this WrestleCade event, and he's hanging out with Teddy Long and Camille, and then he goes in a battle royal that included Falaba, Gilbert, and Swoggle, and they said soon enough you're going to find out what makes Question Mark tick. I love the video package. It was quite awesome. Then it shows a WrestleCade segment, and basically this was to show like that Nick Aldis was there, and he basically went up against the Great Muta, so that was pretty awesome. Then David Marquez interviews Melina, and Melina says that she's happy to be back in NWA. It's the hottest wrestling promotion, so that's where she wants to be. But before she showed up, the women's division was just the commercial breaks pretty much, and she talks about how she's going to be that heel that makes everybody care, that makes everyone have to fight for something, and she said that she's going to do that with Allison Kay. So then Allison Kay comes out and challenges her to a match pretty much, and she gets into the ring, and Melina acts like she's going to go in, but really never does. Then Marty Bell and Thunder Rosa come out, and they all beat her down, and Marty Bell hits a underhook facebuster, and that was pretty much it. This was fine. I thought it was a nice way to build to the match. I just really don't like that the roles are reversed. I really think that Melina should be the face and Allison Kay should be the heel, but it's whatever. It's really weird. Allison Kay has like this rainbow tattoo like right next to her, right on the side of her stomach. So that's just weird. Then we have another Tony Falk ad. It's the same one we've been seeing. Then Kyle Davis interviews the Rock and Roll Express, and they pretty much talk about how they have one more chance to become the 9-time NWA World's Tag Team Champions. Nick Aldis addresses James Storm, and he talks about how when Nick Aldis came to NWA, he was immediately the hottest thing in professional wrestling, and he says that James Storm consistently runs his mouth and expects everybody to give him everything that he wants. And he says that the reason that these segments haven't aired is because James Storm has been so unprofessional by just going out there and demanding things and putting the NWA booking committee in shambles and stuff. And he says that he wasn't even supposed to be in that 3-way match. The reason the match didn't air was because there was so much shenanigans that allowed him to win. And he also talked about how he was a joke of a national champion, and says that he doesn't deserve to just immediately go from national champion to #1 contender. And he says that he's the one that asked for this match because the big storyline is that James Storm keeps claiming that Nick Aldis is ducking him. And, he says that he asked for this match just so that way he could shut James Storm up once and for all. And then he says that if James Storm doesn't win, he just goes back to obscurity, pretty much. He also brings up that this isn't TNA. You're not just going to get things handed to you, and things are different than in TNA, which I kind of like, because this, that's where they had their first feud that sucked. He picks his referee, and he says he wants to pick the referee that's going to that has valued the NWA so much and has so much dedication for it, and he picks Tim Storm, but it actually makes sense given the history. And then he gets asked about Camille, and he says basically the same thing, that he is sick of answering the questions, and what Camille does is her decision, but she gives the Camille the night off and NWA Into the Fire, so that way there's no distractions that will cause him to lose the title. So I'm assuming Camille's still going to come out and do something, but we don't know what it is, so we'll have to wait and see. Then we have the main event match on the show. It's the NWA World Tag Team Championship match. NWA World Tag Team Champions of the Wild Card versus the Rock and Roll Express. This match was pretty good. Wild Card get the heat on Ricky Morton for a while, and then Robbie Gibson comes in and gets the hot tag, and the Rock and Roll Express get underworld. They hit a double drop kick on Royce Isaacs, but Tom Latimer breaks it up, and then the Wild Card beat him down, and they go to hit a double team, but the Rock and Roll Express fight him off, and Ricky Morton rolls up Royce Isaacs and gets the win, so he wins with the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling. And it's a big celebration. It is hurt because we had to see Jim Cornette come into the ring, and everyone knows how I feel about that. But it is still an awesome moment that they won the NWA World's Tag Team titles. They even do an interview afterwards saying that they're happy, and you have to capitalize on opportunities when they're given to you. And that was pretty damn great. The match was 3 1/4 stars. I really enjoyed it, especially for the feel-good moment of the Rock and Roll Express being the NWA World Tag Team Champions. Afterwards, Joe Galli just runs through the card for NWA Into the Fire. He did add two additional matches to the show. We're going to have the rematch between Wildcard and Rock and Roll Express for the championships. And we're also going to have a triple threat match for the NWA National Heavyweight Championship between Colt Cabana defending the title against Aaron Stevens and Ricky Stokes. I'm actually looking forward to that match. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then afterwards, Nick Aldis, and they also basically thank Jim Cornette for his contributions because pretty much they realized, that he was going to be leaving after this, so they did that. And then Nick Aldis gives some breaking news regarding NWA Into the Fire. He cuts like a little promo talking about James Storm first, and then he announces the new commentator for NWA Into the Fire. It says it's either going to be good news or bad news. Stu Bennett, and he turns his phone around and shows his picture. So I'm actually excited about this. I've never heard Stu Bennett do commentary. I know he's done commentary for places, but I've never physically heard him. But in WWE, he was awesome on the microphone, so I'm assuming he's going to be just as great in the booth. And I'm actually looking forward to hear how he does. And yeah, I love it. And that was pretty much the end of the episode. So yeah, no episode this week. So at some point this week, there will be like a wrestling rundown dedicated to doing predictions for NWA Into the Fire, because we're going to do predictions for that. The card's basically, established, and it's basically confirmed at this point. I'm really looking forward to the show. I did the pre-order in, so hopefully I get my money's worth. But if I had to give this show a letter grade, I thought it was great. I thought it was a nice way to build to NWA Into the Fire. So I'm going to give it a B+. I'm going to give it an 89 out of 100. I'm really looking forward to NWA Into the Fire, so there's that. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell, so that way every time I upload a video, you guys get the notifications for it. And make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers and Over Talking Native YouTube channels. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.